Hello fellow producer, this is Onesto, and today I'm going to show you 5 essential ways to use Driveshaper from cableguys. Each trick that I'm going to show you are straightforward, everyday ways to use this excellent plugin. Alright, let's have fun. Alright, so the first essential way I want to show you is how Driveshaper can be used to create rhythms in your instrument layers. Let me play this little loop I have here. Alright, fun stuff, and we are going to focus on this layer here called distant voices. So it just has like that sidechain pumping already happening, but I think we can give it a bit more movement with Driveshaper. So one thing I want to point out is that on the bottom, you have all these different LFO shape presets that you can select. So what I'm going to do is just kind of scroll through them and just land on one that I like. The drive's going to be a bit much, but we'll lessen it later. All right, so you've seen already how like as you choose each like shape preset, you're getting different rhythms. But I want something a bit less because that was a bit much, huh? Let me see. Drop the drive down here by quite a bit. And even the mix. All right, cool. So it's like adding a rhythm on top of that sidechain pumping. So without it, then with it. Yeah, so I think this is a really quick and easy way to just add some extra rhythm just by using a Driveshaper. You're not volume automating, you are drive automating, which is kind of just an interesting way to give your sounds that extra movement that it might need. All right, so the second essential use is giving your snares a little bit of variety. So here is my drum, really simple. It's just essentially a snare going on. And I don't know about you, but whenever I have like either a snare loop or snare MIDI, when it's the same snare sample happening over and over, sure, you can get away with it, but it feels a little boring. It would be great if each snare hit could have a little variety. All right, so let's give some variety to our snare layer. So I have Driveshaper pulled up here. I just have it at 25% drive on our skew fold. All right, so we see here in the waveform that the snare is hitting out on the 1 and the 3, but wouldn't it be great if on the 3, it had a bit, to sound a little different. So I'm just gonna add in some drive here. Yeah, so it's already sounding a little bit different in a good way. Yeah. Yeah, so now the contrast between the two snares is just a little bit more interesting. With the same sample, you're able to get that variety with your snaps or claps or snares, maybe even a kick drum. You're just able to not have it be the same sample playing over and over again, which can feel a little bit stale and boring. Yeah, just even listening in that loop again is super subtle. It's just like this subconscious thing, but it just stays fresh. Okay, so the third essential use is a feature in Driveshaper that I'm starting to use more and more, and it is using the envelope feature. And what we're going to use for this is this loop here. Yeah, really cool drum loop. But now when we activate envelope, the drive is responding to the transients of your loop. So when it crosses a certain threshold, that's when the drive is going to kick in. And when the sound goes below that threshold, the drive will like get sucked back out. So here, let me play it again. All right, so it's definitely crossing that threshold. Now I'm going to increase it. Cool. So you can see in the graph here that at that transient hit, that's when the drive engages. Maybe just push it up quite a bit, you know? And then we can just drive the mix down. Maybe a little bit less. And you know, once again, let's have this only affect the mids and highs. Great, now we can drive it up some more. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, too much. So no envelope happening, some envelope happening. Yeah, it's just a really interesting way to get some more flavors into your loops, and it's all from using this envelope feature inside of Driveshaper. Now, before I go on to the next tip, if you're already excited to try some of these tricks out, please let me know by liking this video. And if you have any Driveshaper or Shaperbox tips and tricks of your own that I didn't touch on, then let everyone know in the comments below. Okay, let's go on to essential use number 4. One of the best features about Driveshaper and all the other Shaper modules is the multiband feature. So I just have a Driveshaper pulled up, I have this shape here, the LFO shape, and hard clip going on. And typically when you drive, it's helpful to ignore the low end because the low end just kind of grabs onto that drive and makes things just like a little too distorted. So what you can do is in this band section up here is click and drag. And what's happening is that now Driveshaper is only affecting the frequencies in this range and ignoring all of them in the low end here. So already it sounds a bit cleaner, right? This is without it. This is with it. Yeah, so it just sounds like dirtier but cleaner at the same time. And then what we can do is get our highs. And what we can also do is solo this thing. If you want to hear like what on earth is happening in this range. Cool, I like that. And let's give it a whole different shape. Let's try this one. No, this one. Yeah. All right, so soloing again, we can hear what's going on. All right, unsolo that. Great, and let's say I want to bring down the mix of all of our bands. It's the master mix here. That sounded pretty cool. So let's bypass. Yeah, the bass almost wants to get like dirty and more aggressive, but it's not quite there. Turn it on, and we're there a whole lot more. That's a bit much there. Cool. Multiband is great, is that you can apply different rhythms, LFO shapes, different mix levels, just different settings to every single band. So my high band is totally different than my mid band, which seems a little wild, but altogether it sounds pretty good. Bring in our sub. And hear it all together. Yeah, so multiband is fantastic. I love it. Okay, so the fifth essential use I want to talk about is explaining what grip and push are, because you're going to be seeing this quite a bit as you're scrolling through the different distortion models here. And I have here just this vocal chop example. Yeah, so I wanted to mess around with that, and you'll see that in soft rectify and hard rectify and a few others, you get a grip option and sometimes you get a push option. And as you encounter this, you might be wondering what's going on. And by the way, if you are confused or just forget what anything is done, just hover over it. And down here, there'll be like a little ticker that kind of just gives you, just explains like what the setting does, which is really helpful. All right, so this is what grip is doing. Grip lets you control how the distortion is reacting to the quiet parts of the waveform. And this is really useful when you have a lot of ambience or just like noise in the recording itself. And when you push grip up a whole lot, you kind of get this crunchy gate effect. Let me show you what I mean. Let me bring the mix up. Here. You see how when I pushed grip up by a whole lot, it was just responding to the loud parts of the waveform. And the quiet parts were just like, they just kind of disappeared for a brief moment. So grip does only affect the loud parts of your signal, but it's just good to know. I like to kind of listen, see where I want to place that. Great. And then some controls, they have this push feature, this push control. And what it allows you to do is to push the rectify effect even more. So let's push that up. Yeah, so you can definitely hear how the rectify part of the soft rectify is getting even more distorted and stuff. So I'm just gonna bring down my mix. And I am happy with that there. Let's hear everything together. And that was a whole lot of fun. Yeah, we went kind of crazy with Driveshapers, but that's the whole point of this video. And those are the 5 most essential ways that you'll be using Driveshaper from cableguys. And if you're interested in this plugin, just click the link in the description below. Hope we can hang out again in the future. Later.